After moving 8 hours to be with my partner, I discovered she was still married. Her abusive ex tracked her and found our messages, leading to chaos in her life. I thought I was helping, but now I'm drowning. How do I escape this spiraling mess before it swallows me whole? I understand that this narrative is lengthy, but I will do my utmost to summarize the crucial aspects and details. If anything is unclear or requires further information, please do not hesitate to ask. I am in desperate need of support and insight. I simply want to regain control of my life. Beginning in August, I was starting to establish a routine and felt that I was making some strides in life. While not everything was positive or perfect, I began to socialize more, using social media and talking to friends. Therapy, however, had stagnated to some extent. I had been with the same therapist for about 4 years, and we ultimately reached the conclusion that I might possibly have borderline personality disorder. I am currently enrolled in school and pursuing a degree while managing my own Etsy shop. Although the shop is performing well, I continue to struggle significantly with my mental health, at times barely getting by and sometimes having to rely on family to help with bills. One of my major issues has been difficulties forming in-person friendships and relationships. I often felt isolated and lacked friends to hang out with, and this loneliness was detrimental to my well-being. I acknowledge that I made some choices that were not ideal, but throughout much of my life I have lacked support. This individual had painted a picture indicating they would finally fill a gap that I had been desperately trying to fill for years. I apologize if I omit any details. These past few months have been overwhelming, and I am trying to keep my account succinct while providing the key points. Please feel free to ask questions. I am earnestly seeking support or insight. My life feels like a complete disaster. In September, the person I am currently with messaged me on TikTok. After a few weeks of chatting and playing video games daily, I began to develop an interest in them. We started communicating and both strongly desired to pursue the relationship. I understand the honeymoon phase and similar situations, but beyond that, she possessed many qualities I had been searching for in a partner. We fit together better than I had ever fit with anyone before. She was able to provide aspects of the relationship that I never thought I would find or felt deserving of. Although she lived about 8 hours away, my lease was set to end in November. Before moving to live with her, I visited twice. Both trips resulted in brief visits, the first for a few hours and the second for about an hour. As time passed, more things began to feel amiss. For instance, she wanted me to move in but could not yet because she had joint custody of her child and was not permitted to have males stay overnight. During my visits, I could not go to the house because she did not want her ex-partner showing up unexpectedly. Ultimately, I followed through with my decision to move closer to her. I secured an apartment near her and signed what I thought was a 7-month lease. The moving process was chaotic and occurred almost within 2 days. Initially, I was very stressed about this since, as mentioned earlier, I struggled to get by at times. However, she assured me that she would assist me with any issues since she earned more than enough from her job, so I proceeded with the plan. A family member helped me move and I toured and signed the lease all in the same day. I had initially requested and believed I signed for a 7-month lease which would expire in May. However, upon checking my documents online, I discovered it was actually a 13-month lease. Since moving, I have uncovered many reasons why everything seemed off with my partner. She is still married to her ex-husband. When we first met, he had been telling her that he would divorce her. This was the second time he made such a claim. She had received divorce papers, and shortly after meeting me, she signed a reconciliation agreement, but they continued to live separately. He told her that if she agreed to the reconciliation, he would cease drug testing her, a provision of their earlier custody agreement. However, he also indicated to her, which she believed, that he was still pursuing the divorce. She has conveyed to me that she did not consider me serious until I relocated here, which is why she agreed to these terms. After moving here, she awaited a court date scheduled for February, hopeful that he would proceed with the divorce, only to discover that he had no intention of doing so. By that time, he had started living in the house, as at some point her vehicle had broken down and was deemed totaled. He firmly believed that they would work on their marriage while I was being told that she merely wished to leave but was remaining for the sake of her daughter. Most days when we were together, we spent time on the phone, and she repeatedly expressed how abusive, controlling, and unsatisfactory he was as a husband. Hearing this, I understand why someone would want to leave, but she never had the support or resources to do so. At some point in January, she lost her job, which she suspects he contributed to since he held a position of authority over her at the company where she worked. Since then, she has been unemployed. Fast forward to March, he became frustrated with her leaving the house during the day. He monitored her activities through security cameras installed at the house and her going out with a male. Consequently, he searched her phone and discovered all the messages exchanged between us over the past few months. That day, she decided to finally leave him. I had also grown weary of the emotional turmoil and trauma she had caused me, planning to discuss a strategy for leaving this state and returning home with my therapist the following day. However, after learning what had happened, I went to pick her up, and she has been with me ever since. Throughout this entire ordeal, I have celebrated holidays alone, attended important events alone, and lost most of my friends due to my increasingly unstable day-to-day life. I desire to regain some semblance of what I had, albeit without the isolation and loneliness that I once experienced. I wish to return, but with the person I am currently with. This leads us to the present, the area in which I feel I need the most insight and support. She is currently staying with me and has yet to file any documents for custody or divorce. Her ex has expressed a desire to mediate this process with her. She has agreed but stated that she does not feel comfortable meeting him in person and prefers to conduct her portion virtually. He has refused her request and continues to insist on meeting in person, demanding that she attend alone and if I accompany her that I must remain in the car. Since she left, he has reached out to every family member and friend of hers. A few friends have sided with her, blocking him and showing her the messages he has sent. However, her mother and brother have been rather antagonistic toward her. Before she left the house in March, he made it abundantly clear that he would do whatever it took to eliminate all her support systems and ensure that he was the only significant presence in her life during their argument that day. Since then, he has worked diligently to achieve that, successfully isolating her from her mother, brother, and best friend. At this point, she does not trust or care about her relationships with them, as none of them have attempted to understand her perspective. They have treated her as though she is experiencing some form of mental breakdown. She has very little support aside from me. She knows a few friends in different states, but beyond that, I am all she has right now. I am currently unsure of what to do next, as any plans I had for returning home or extricating myself from this lease have fallen apart since she came here. I do care for her and want a relationship with her. She has endured a difficult life and was with her ex-husband for 10 years. To some extent, I understand her clouded perception of her situation. However, I am eager to help her get back on track and assist with matters such as obtaining her thyroid medication, seeing a therapist, and exploring treatment options for her diagnosed ADHD, which she has never addressed throughout her life, in addition to finding employment, finalizing her divorce, and arranging custody. Unfortunately, she is struggling, and any support I offer seems to have little effect. It has been just over a month since she left, and she reached out to several lawyers who, from what she told me, were supposed to provide pro bono services but sent her documents requiring upfront fees amounting to several $1,000s, which she cannot afford while being unemployed. I am experiencing a daily mental breakdown trying to manage all of this. The toll these past few months have taken on me has been considerable. At times, I have struggled to leave my bed and care for myself. I am still attempting to balance school and my Etsy shop, which is quite overwhelming as I am the only one managing it. Now that she is here, she mentioned that she would start working and had a job lined up with a company, but the day before her start date, she was informed that she had previously been placed on a do not hire list for the company. They claimed they were working to resolve the issue. I have depleted all my finances, my income from Etsy is no longer stable as I let it suffer, and I have bills due at the beginning of next month, making me feel as though my mental health is on the verge of collapsing. She lacks the drive or motivation to address these challenges and hopes her ex will file for the divorce so she does not have to incur legal fees, while I need to return home by September for my classes. She very much resembles how I used to be before I began taking ADHD medication, and I continually try to encourage her to take action, but it feels like pulling teeth. I am slowly declining mentally and am approaching a point where rent and other bills are due, yet I do not have the funds to pay them. I am nearly at that point, if not just days away, and I no longer know what to do. I want to return home. I have a job there with a family-owned store where I can attend my classes, and although I was not performing exceptionally well before, it felt somewhat more stable then. She has agreed that she wants to move back with me, but she is not taking any steps to address the situation with her ex to make that happen. I am genuinely fearful of numerous possible outcomes with this situation and recognize that I have made some poor choices, but I only want to return home. I care for this person and want to see her improve her circumstances for both herself and her daughter. I certainly do not wish to abandon her without support, but I am at a loss for what to do at this point. I should have mentioned earlier that I applied to transfer to my dream school in October and learned in December that I was accepted after applying 4 times previously. I honestly did not expect to get in. What resources or support can I seek to facilitate my return home and escape this situation? I see a therapist weekly, but I do not feel a connection with her, nor do I believe that simply seeing a therapist will resolve this situation. Story 2. Dating my introverted boyfriend, 31M, for 7 months feels rocky. I just want to be left alone, he yelled after a parking lot incident, then insisted, this isn't happening when I considered breaking up. Can opposites really last? Am I making a mistake moving in? Hi Reddit. I have never posted here before, but I am feeling confused and thought it might be helpful to hear from people who are more removed from the situation. I am a 25-year-old female and I started dating my boyfriend, who is a 31-year-old male, about 7 months ago. We were neighbors and became friends because of his cute dog, and then our relationship developed from there. The beginning of our relationship was rocky. We had some misunderstandings and tough conversations, but we eventually aligned regarding our expectations, and things improved considerably. For context, I am very outgoing and social. I enjoy going out, meeting friends, and creating new memories. My boyfriend is more reserved. He usually needs a drink or two to feel comfortable in social situations, which I found endearing at first. Since we began dating, we have spent most of our time together and genuinely enjoy each other's company. However, looking back, approximately 80% of that time has been spent indoors, watching television, cooking, and doing Legos. I appreciate those activities, but I also want to go out more to bars, the beach, or even to play pool with friends. I have mentioned this to him, and he has encouraged me to go out and enjoy myself, but I suppose I was hoping we would be creating those young and in-love memories together. Recently, we have been arguing, especially over small matters. He seems to be constantly stressed due to work and the classes he started after we got together to improve his job prospects. He becomes frustrated quickly and does not communicate when he needs space. He simply shuts down and then lashes out. I am also working and attending graduate school, so I understand stress, but I do not treat him that way. If I ever did, he would make a significant issue out of it. Here is what happened during our most recent argument. We woke up, took his dog for a walk, and then picked up coffee. On our way home, I stopped at a small store to grab 2 items I needed. I parked in a designated spot, left the keys in the car with him inside, and ran in. I was gone for less than 10 minutes. When I returned, he was upset because people in the parking lot were gesturing at him, apparently because my car made it difficult for them to exit. I said they were being dramatic, there was plenty of space, and I let it go. However, as we were driving home, I noticed that he was still upset. I reached over to hold his hand as we usually do, but he pulled away. I became quiet and a few minutes later asked if he was okay, to which he snapped, yelling, "Leave me alone. I do not want anything, I just want to be left alone." I was hurt but decided to respect his space. We returned to my place and he immediately went into the bedroom to do homework. I left him alone, reorganized the hallway closet and bathroom, and cleaned the apartment while video chatting with my sister. He came out once to get a snack, smiled as if nothing had happened, gave me a kiss, offered me a snack, and then walked away, all while I was still on video chat. Later in the evening, he asked if I still wanted to go on the dinner date we had planned. I said no. I made myself a plate of leftovers and ate while we watched television. An hour later, he mentioned he was going to leave because he had to work early. I asked if this is really how he wanted to leave without discussing what had happened. He said I had given him the silent treatment, canceled our date, did not check if he wanted food, and just helped myself. I reminded him that he had yelled at me to leave him alone, and I was merely respecting his request. He continued insisting that he did not yell, that I kept nudging him, and that he only meant he wanted space, but not all day. We went back and forth. He eventually apologized but insisted that I also owed him an apology for ignoring him the whole day. He claimed I always wanted to be right and that I made him feel like the bad guy. The next day I went over to talk. He explained that he was not upset with me about the parking lot incident, he just needed to cool off. He said he was sorry if I felt he had yelled but still maintained that he did not. Things were not really resolved, and he ended up asking me to leave his apartment. I sat quietly for a few minutes and then told him that I did not think moving in together at the end of the month was a good idea, especially if he reacts like this and asks me to leave when things become difficult. He replied that if we were not moving in together, then he did not want to be in a relationship and told me to leave again. I took my cat, who I had brought with me, and left. As I was driving out of his driveway, he came running out saying, "This is not happening, we are not breaking up over this." He would not move from in front of my car until I got out. I told him I just needed a drive to cool off and that I would come back. He took my cat back up to his place and said he would wait. When I returned, I found him curled up on the floor of his room. When he saw me, he pretended to be cleaning paint he had spilled earlier, but it felt like a cover. We talked. He started tearing up, apologized again, and said he had exaggerated the situation, that he loved me deeply and did not want to lose me, and that he was trying to be better. I love him too, and I want to believe things can improve, so I chose to let it go. We promised to be more patient with each other. That said, I cannot shake the feeling that something is not right. I love him, and we do share wonderful moments, but is this dynamic healthy? Is it normal for couples who have different personalities? I am very social. He is introverted and more avoidant to face such struggles. I am feeling anxious about moving in together. I keep questioning if relationships that are truly meant to last feel this unstable. I apologize if this was too long. I would greatly appreciate any advice or perspective. Summary: I have been dating my boyfriend, who is 31 years old, for 7 months. I am outgoing while he is introverted. We enjoy our time together but mostly stay in, and I have been longing for more shared social experiences. Recently, he has been reacting explosively to minor issues and shutting down instead of communicating. Our latest argument escalated, leading him to ask me to leave, and now I am feeling anxious about moving in together at the end of the month. He apologized and we promised to try harder, but I cannot shake the feeling that something is amiss. Is this dynamic normal or a red flag?